Seoul and Tokyo are turning the page. Over the weekend, President Lee Jae-myung and Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba met in Tokyo and issued a first joint statement in 17 years. The document pledged deeper security ties and new cooperation in technology and energy. But President Lee heading straight to Washington, the stakes couldn't be higher. For deeper insights into the recent summit, we're now joined by Professor Byung-joo of the Hankuk University of Foreign Studies. Good morning, Professor Kim.
Good morning.
Hope you had a decent weekend.
I did. Thank you very much.
A lot of grounds to cover. A busy weekend for President Lee, to say the least. Maybe we can begin here. The summit was billed as historic, described as unlike past meetings. What, in your view, made this Tokyo meeting stand out?
So many different things, but as it has been, continuously talked about, the very fact that Korea's new president has visited Japan as the first country to pay a visit, even before the United States. This never happened. All of Korea's modern presidents, with an exception of Lee Sung-man himself, I guess, never visited Japan as the president because we didn't have diplomatic ties. It was Park Chung-hee who opened diplomatic ties with great efforts. And since Park Chung-hee, of course, all the presidents, never anyone ventured to visit Japan as the very first country to visit as the new president. And this is happening for the first time. And a very meaningful year, especially, 80th anniversary of the liberation from Japanese colonial rule, and also 60th anniversary of setting up diplomatic ties with Tokyo. So very meaningful year, and making this kind of a very memorable visit. That was from the beginning has been very much a big deal. And first joint statement issued by Korea's president and Japanese prime minister in 17 years. And that's also almost 2 decades. And before he went to Japan, President Lee gave an interview to Yomiuri Shimbun. And Yomiuri Shimbun, as everybody knows, is, as many people know, is that it's one of the most conservative, leading voice in conservative camp, nationalistic, and often critical of Korea. And the fact that he gave an interview, which was very well received, by the way, and often, the reaction from Japan regarding this visit, as well as his interview at Yomiuri Shimbun, all expressed as a pleasant surprise on the side of Japan, because Japan on its side has its own trauma. It could be called the Moon Jae-in trauma. And Moon Jae-in, when he became the president, he overturned the Korea's agreement with Japan that Park Geun-hye worked so hard over time. Park Geun-hye never really truly wanted this agreement, but she spent so much time and efforts on it because of U.S. urging. Obama really wanted Japan, Korea, United States to work closely, and therefore pressured President Park Geun-hye to produce an agreement on past, particularly the wartime sex slaves. And it was such a difficult agreement to strike. But as soon as Moon Jae-in came into office, he overturned it. And it was a big trauma for Japan, because they saw Korea-Japan relations during the early period of Moon Jae-in government just like dropping like a rock to the bottom. And so since progressive president is coming back, Lee Jae-myung, first president following Moon Jae-in, and so first progressive president following Moon Jae-in, Japan was nervous. But now, as they've been repeatedly emphasized, they've been pleasantly surprised by outreach and forthcoming stance of President Lee here. And so overall, that was made very clear when this visit was announced and then covered by the joint press conference, where the heads of states announced their joint statement. First time again in 17 years, they said, in this fast-changing environment, global environment, it is just absolutely critical for Korea and Japan to work together and working together towards strengthening trilateral cooperation between amongst Korea, United States, and Japan. And Prime Minister Ishiba himself was very forthcoming, and he said, "Our two countries have so many of the common issues that we share, social, demographic, natural, and climate related, as well as industry related. We have so many issues to work together, and so therefore, he made it very clear that he's very much looking forward to greater cooperation with Korea." At the dinner that Ishiba hosted for President Lee, the Japanese Prime Minister took pain to show his hospitality, having, President Lee is from Andong, Gyeongbu area, and then Andong soju and Andong jimtak and all these things, surprising. I mean, you wouldn't expect host country offering a food of the guest country.
Right.
The general guess is you can never match the original one, but they ventured it, and looks like it worked really well. So all these gestures of friendliness and overall talks between the two head of states lasting almost close to 2 hours. Amazing, and a lot of people seem to be happy. Even Korea's conservative opposition party seems to have expressed the view that actually this visit was a success. It rarely happens in Korean politics, and so very interesting phenomenon we saw.
So these are all indications of good signs.
Right.
As you mentioned, Professor Kim, it was a first joint statement that was issued by both sides in 17 years. How should we assess its significance?
President Lee Myung-bak was the one who last issued joint statement with Japanese Prime Minister. And if we're looking back, there were almost every time, there were efforts to improve relations with Tokyo on the side of Seoul every time. And Lee Myung-bak tried the same. And towards the end, Lee Myung-bak visited Dokdo with the rising nationalistic actions on the side of Japan. In reaction to it, he visited Dokdo. Personally, my own view is that I support his visit. There's no reason why for a Korean president to pay a visit to Korean territory. So I myself don't see a problem at all, and I actually believe that he did the right thing. But there were critics who were saying he just set a fire, in a burning flame there. And so towards the end, the bilateral relationship got really bad. And Park Geun-hye came in, as I mentioned, and she came in with a great emphasis. Even toward Washington, she was making it very clear that she wants to improve relationship with Beijing. And she stood on the top of, Tiananmen Gate, along with Xi Jinping and Putin. But the thing is, Obama came along and said, no, Korea is on our side, and Korea really needs to improve relationship with Japan. And as I said already during the first question here, and he worked really hard, and Park Geun-hye produced this, very difficult agreement over time, but Moon Jae-in overturned it. But since then, throughout Moon Jae-in's tenure, Japan-Korea ties were at the bottom, and a lot of people believe Yoon Suk-yeol took extraordinary steps to strengthen Seoul-Tokyo ties, and Japan was very happy about it. And then, as soon as Yoon Suk-yeol went down, Japan was very, very, very nervous about the possibility of going back. But now, Lee Jae-myung came in, and in the very first visit, they issued this joint statement together with Prime Minister Ishiba, covering all these different areas: national security, trade, economy, industrial cooperation. On national security, of course, key point is North Korea's nuclear weapons and missiles, and also, the reaction or preparation to counter any kind of ramifications of Russia, North Korea military cooperation, and even, as I said already earlier, socio-economic issues such as aging population and different things. all included in the statement. So very impressive in a way. And more than anything, there was the Kim Dae-jung Obuchi Declaration about the future-oriented cooperation between the two countries, and they made it clear that they actually, respect and inherit and they will uphold this DJ Kim Dae-jung and Obuchi, declaration. So every time there was a trouble between Seoul and Tokyo, there were questions raised. Is this overturning Kim Dae-jung Obuchi declaration? And the answers have been mixed, right? Sometimes there was unclear. And the thing is, the very pinnacle of bilateral relationship and expression of goodwill was 1998 Kim Dae-jung Obuchi joint declaration. And this time, President Lee Jae-myung and Prime Minister Ishiba made it very clear that they will firmly uphold this declaration. So we can say, I mean, when Yoon Suk-yeol, the conservative president, was working on this, of course, there was his effort to recover the bilateral relations from the bottom that Moon Jae-in, in Japanese perspective, almost destroyed. But Yoon Suk-yeol was a conservative president, so there was nervousness, as I said before, on the side of Japan. But when they see finally the progressive president, Lee Jae-myung, working on this, this is convincing, and Japan can be confident. So I think this was very meaningful action that we saw.
Professor Kim, let's maybe look at national security and industrial cooperation. First, on national security, the statement outlines steps for closer cooperation. What concrete developments, in your opinion, should we expect next?
Of course, what we know already, and we've known for years, is that Japan and Korea are supposed to, and we have to work together to counter North Korea's nuclear weapons and missiles, because the incoming missiles, Japan has their what's so-called the assets, intelligence assets to track the missiles. And the Japan, South Korea, when we work together, we can dramatically increase the capability to defend ourselves. And North Korea's missiles will also target Japanese, cities and installations as well. So both countries, South Korea and Japan, face this need to defend ourselves from North Korea's threats. And when we work together, the capability more than doubles. And so that's an obvious reason why we need to work together here. And in the long run, depends on how China develops into the future. But the worst scenario of China wielding its power and pressuring neighboring countries and doing what it wants to do, disregarding other countries' interest, Japan and Korea have to work together. There's no question about it. And then Russia, ever unpredictable Putin's Russia. We don't know how long Putin will be around. He's a natural human being, but still.
I think he wants to project otherwise.
Right. So, Russia is increasing threat, and even, United States under Trump, and even post-Trump, if someone who resembles Trump takes over White House, and what it will mean is ever-shrinking presence of the United States and ever-shrinking credibility on what they call extended deterrence. United States commitment to defend Japan and Korea as if it's these are their U.S. territories. That promise, that commitment is losing its credibility, and we know it's going to continue to lose its credibility over time, no matter what. So for that reason, just like in Europe, France and Germany are working together. In this part of the world, Korea and Japan has to work together in order to defend itself. And, if you look at, for example, the Global Firepower Survey, it's one of the leading surveys measuring defense capability around the world. The recent 2025 ranking shows, in terms of conventional military power, they rank South Korea world's number 5, following US, Russia, China, India. South Korea stands number 5, and Japan stands number 8 after UK and France. And so Korea number 5, Japan number 8, working together in this part of the world. incredible enough of a presence here to counter any kind of threats. North Korea, China, Russia, and shrinking U.S. presence. It's all credible. That kind of cooperation scenario sounds very, very credible.
As you also mentioned earlier, Professor Kim, industrial cooperation for both countries, it seems to be in both countries' interest. So maybe we can pick your brain on this one. Business and industry ties also receive attention through this joint statement. What are some of the major key takeaways there?
The joint statements mention industrial cooperation, interestingly, hydrogen and AI. And I know I've been following hydrogen economy for the past several years. And what we saw before Trump too, during Biden administration, Japan was taking really forthcoming steps in terms of building hydrogen economy, especially on the energy side, in order to reduce their greenhouse gas. Japan was engaging with United States big time, and at that time, U.S. energy companies were turning dramatically towards hydrogen from what they call petroleum and upstream energy sources. And so hydrogen ammonia conversion was going at full speed, and Japan was going at a even faster speed. So I was surprised by it. Then I was looking Korea, and Japan. Korea has been taking some time on this, and so what I saw was increasing gap between Japan and Korea in terms of conversion to a hydrogen economy. And so there, we know. Again, as we talked about Putin, he's a natural person, and Donald Trump is also a natural person, and he's set by presidential term. So we have to be prepared for post-Trump, and so what we know is, we have to face the need to deal with our energy conversion and carbon zero or carbon minimization. This will have to continue, and for that, Korea needs help from Japan in terms of their knowledge and experience in terms of conversion to hydrogen economy. And then Japan needs Korea's help on AI. Korea wants to become world's number 3 in AI, and we don't know whether that will materialize. It's a great aspiration, but Korea has certain basis for AI, and Japan does not have as much. So Japan needs Korea's help as well. And having talked about industrial cooperation, there are, again, this point that I mentioned several times so far today, that is socioeconomic cooperation for fast aging, the population, and also the different localities kind of like losing their people and shrinking and declining. So this kind of regional balance, those kind of things, there are a lot of different areas we need to work together. So that's what we see between the two countries, the cooperation in the future.
I knew we'd run out of time, but I have to get to this final question, Professor Kim.
Sorry.
No apology necessary. It's just a lot of grounds to cover. Of course, all eyes shift to Washington. Latest report indicates that President Lee Jae-myung has landed in D.C. E-Trump summit is about to begin. There's a lot to look out for, sure, but what's the short list? What should we be watching for?
3 areas. Number one, obviously trade. There are a lot of different loose holes that need to be tightened. And so trade agreement that was reached it's quite a while. It's a short while ago between Donald Trump and Korea's Minister of Industry and Trade. So trade side, number one. Number two is, of course, the national security. We are facing this changing environment, and Korea's great military capability combined with ever-shrinking U.S. presence. So we need to update the security cooperation set right there. So national security cooperation, number two. And number three is industrial cooperation. Well, this has bearing on the trade side as well, but shipbuilding, United States needs our help. And then now we're talking about nuclear power generation in the United States. U.S. needs Korea's help. And in return, Korea needs certain issues resolved in terms of managing nuclear spent fuels and stuff. So those kind of issues kind of need to be worked out together. So these are really, really huge stack of issues, unprecedented. And that's probably why we have this unprecedented level of delegation here. In presidential office, there are 3 chiefs, chief of staff, chief of national security, and chief of policy planning. all three chiefs of the presidential office, they
Uh,
are now in DC. So this just indicates how big the stake is at the moment. And so we'll have a lot to talk about perhaps probably next Monday, I guess.
we'll have to. We looked at the timing and thought, oh, if only President Kim was on the show on Tuesday.
Oh, that's right. That's a Tuesday. Right.
But I mean, of course, pundits will have a lot to say about what kind of deals are struck in Washington. So we'll have plenty to talk about next week. We look forward to
Next.
that very talk. Thank you very much,
Right.
Professor Kim.
Thank you.
If you're listening to our program using the podcast service, just a reminder that we do go live Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. Korea Standard Time. So tune in and help us make the show more informative by giving us your input. See you bright and early on Good Morning Seoul.